Brother Live.
Live and direct. What's going on, y'all?
Peace, well.
Hello, everyone. Let me stop this introduction. Bear with me today. Peace, everybody. We're back with another episode of Rupturing the Aesthetic, where we talk about, the kind of nuts and bolts of underground hip hop. It's aesthetic, it's kind of trajectory, um, it's kind of internal and external kind of structures and stuff. So I'm Khadijah. I'm gonna popcorn it to August.
Hey everybody, I'm August
Introduce
Fanani.
yourself.
Oh, yeah. August Fanani right here, hip hop producer. I'm going to shoot it down to June.
Peace, everybody. My name is June Fucking, aka June Classic. Hip hop artist out of Jamaica, Queens. Just, I think a New York City resident my whole life. Born here, I'll probably die here, but I love my city. Passing it on to Robert.
Yo, what's good, y'all? Rob. Just not as established as everybody else on the screen. But currently a grad student. Usually use hip hop aesthetics as a basis of like my theoretical kind of thinking and trajectory. So I'm just here to try to rap with everybody on screen.
Sweet. Okay. So today we're gonna be talking about Westside Gunn. I'm really, really excited. Excited is not the right word. I'm really happy to be talking about Westside Gunn career trajectory, everything like this, because I've been listening to him for many, many years. I'll just give a brief description. First, how's everyone doing? I'm sorry.
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
Great productive day. So I'm glad when that happens.
Yeah,
Awesome.
word. It's been a productive day, but yesterday was kind of crazy. So when you had those days that just make you reassess anything. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, you was looking like you was on the go like a motherfucker yesterday.
That's what's that. You get like that. That's just the New York City lifestyle. We always on the move.
Always on the go. Yeah, so I want to talk about how I first heard Westside Gunn. I actually first heard Westside Gunn on Sky Zoo's album, on a song called Visionary Riches. Um, and I was first introduced to Westside Gunn through Sky Zoo. Now, I know like some people hate Sky Zoo, some people like Sky Zoo.
Who
But at
hates
the time, huh?
who hates Sky Zoo? Oh.
Somebody sitting over there smiling. Hard body. But I liked him more at the time, but I think my ear has kind of evolved a little bit. But I still do like Sky Zoo. Actually, Sky Zoo did a rendition of One Beer, and I was like, this beat is crazy. Like, but I hadn't really delved into MF Doom. This was about I want to say 8 years ago or something, 7 years ago. I haven't really delved in. Like, I knew about him in passing, but I didn't know that he produced that. So, Sky Zoo rapped over it, and I was like, this is dope. And that's how I kind of got into everybody else. So Sky Zoo's album, and I still like Sky Zoo. He had a project with was it Pete Rock that he did?
Yeah, Retropolitan. That
Yes,
album.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that too.
And then he did an album where he had like a band or something. Um, where like he had like a kind of like orchestra type thing going on. I don't know if anybody remembers this. This was the, like I forget the name of this album, but I still like Sky Zoo. He does like this very Brooklyn thing. He does like a lot of Brooklyn references. I was like, oh, I know that, and just like it's very nostalgic for me. So that's why I like him. But that's how I was first introduced to Westside Gunn, and I was just like, who is this? And then my partner at the time, God rest his soul, he started listening to Westside Gunn also. I think it was like maybe one of the like maybe Hitler 2 or like the one of the early Hitlers. And I we would listen, like in passing. But then it wasn't until I want to say Hitler 6 that I really started to like delve into that. Then I went into all his other projects like GXFR, um, projects with Mock, all kinds of things. So I'll just popcorn it to whoever wants to pick up from there, just like an early kind of grounding.
I just want to say also for the audience, it's Hitler Wears Hermes. It's not just it's meant to be for like the Devil Wears Prada. So it's not like he just was making albums about Hitler. Just so we can clarify for the audience.
Just in case you didn't know, we're not advocating
Yes.
Hitlerism on.
We're not on no yay shit over here. So it is it Hitler Wears Hermes. It's supposed to be like Devil Wears Prada. That's but yes, I first heard Westside actually on Conway's project Reject 2. That's why I first heard him. And that dropped a year, so that dropped in 15. That dropped the year before Fly God, the album that everybody kind of, at least in the underground circuit, where you started to become like underground famous. Then I went back and I listened to like the first two HWH's. I believe the first two came out before Fly God, or the first three.
Yeah.
And so that is how I heard him first, but I actually started to really get into him with Supreme Blientele. And as we'll get into over the discussion, I was born on Staten Island, so being a huge Wu-Tang fan and especially a huge Ghostface fan, that's kind of what drew me to Westside first. So that's whoever else wants to pick up.
I'll go next. I think like cause like Robert said, like he was kind of bubbling on the underground scene, and I think I heard something from him around 2014, maybe one of the first one or two Hitler Wears Hermes, or maybe the something else. But I remember Mock passed me an early version of Hitler Wears Hermes 3, and I remember it. I was just thinking about that today because I forgot about it. I remember it had this Planet Asia track with Tri-State was on there. And I remember, like, I think the one that came out has about 17 tracks on it, but the one I had about maybe 10 or 13 tracks. And I'm like, yo, this is dope as fuck. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Because like at that time, it was like one of the things that struck me was that I liked every track. Like the production value for every track was just amazing. Like I was like, yo, every one of these beats I love. This is fire. You know what I'm saying? And like all the rhymes was tight. You know what I'm saying? But I just love the production value, and that was kind of a thing he's been able to keep up throughout his trajectory and his career is like this high production level. The production on Westside Gunn's album is like the best, you know, in the space. I think one of the best, you know, if not the best. You know, his production is like flawless to me. You know, even there's stuff that I don't like or whatever, but yeah. But anyway, that's how I got introduced to Westside Gunn. And then Fly God came out, and I was all over that because I remember Mark was telling me about that, and I was talking to Mark and working with Mark. So I was around the time I was around there when like hearing this and that about the production process and how they were working on the album and whatnot. We can get in that a little later. Go ahead, June.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on the beats, man, because I first heard of him, like Khadijah said, through a Sky Zoo track. I know he was on some track with Sky Zoo and they had a video for it. And the first thing I was like, yo, this dude's voice is different. Like, who is this kid? You know what I mean? And then I paid attention to the lyrics. I was like, this kid is talking crazy. And then when I seen their video, I was like, it's not a kid, it's a grown ass man. You know, so I was just intrigued by the vocals. And then I heard Oil Base off Hermes, where, you know, the Hitler wears Hermes too. And then I started getting intrigued because I'm like, who is this guy? You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, why is he calling himself Westside Gunn? I was just fascinated by his whole thing, even the fronts. Like, I noticed when I looked at the video, you know, like Scarface says the eyes. It's all in the eyes. And I think there's something in Westside Gunn's eyes that's like, he not rap too tight. So I was like, all right, so this guy, I believe what he's talking about. He's coming from a place. And then when you start breaking down the lyrics and talk about the feds and the Fed time, and then I started getting intrigued with his backstory. And then when Fly God came out, like he had tweeted something because I started following him, and he was like, "Yo, I've been giving y'all free music for all these years. I need y'all to support this project." And I like the fact that he straight up spoke to the audience like, "Yo, this is the one I'm banking on. It's worth it. Rock with me." And then I saw the shirts, the red shirt with the Fly God image. I was like, "Oh, that's dope. I even bought one. I mean, you see the hat. You know what I'm saying?" So, and he autographed it. So I just like this whole movement because it was organic, and to August's point, the production. I was like, yo, every beat is crazy. Who the fuck is Derringer? You know what I mean? So it just and Camouflage Monk, and I started doing the knowledge. You know what I mean? And I was just fascinated. I was like, this dude is different. And then Royce was, I think, the first person I saw co-sign him. And then everybody started co-signing him after Fly God, and it's like he just took off. You know what I'm saying? So that was my introduction, and I was still a fan.
Yeah, I wanted to correct something I said earlier. I said I mixed up the name of a song for the album. So the name of the album was actually "The Easy Truth" with Sky Zoo, and it was produced by Apollo Brown. Another producer that I actually really I used to like more. I still kind of like him. Like he did that project Anchovies with Planet Asia, that I think is a good project, and I think he did a recent Planet Asia thing too. I think last year. Yeah, but the song is called like Basquiat, something Basquiat, and I heard Westside Gun. There's another song on there that I like with my nigga. I don't really see him no more, but my nigga Stolly, called The Payout. That's my song actually. I still like that song. But yeah, so the Easy Truth is when I was like really exposed to him, and he really just caught my attention with like the kind of bravado, the kind of like high fashion references all the time, and the voice. That voice is very distinct. You know, him and Ito, you know, they got that very distinct voice, and I really like that. So yeah, I don't know. I want to take it up from there. I have a lot to say, but
I wanted to talk about. I think it would be good to pick up on that. You said like his voice, Khadijah,
Yeah.
and I was thinking about something. When I was writing my notes, like who do you guys think influenced Westside Gun? And so I wrote a couple names down real quick here. Let me see here. I got Let me see. Uh Prodigy, Doom, Ghostface, Raekwon, and just kind of like the woo, like like his production taste, I think, is heavily influenced by like RZA and the Wu Tang. You know, he keeps it so grimy all the time, and I love that about him. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, we're talking about his. I was talking about his MC and Nas. I think Nas is a big influence on Westside Gunn too. So those are my 5 or 6 guys who I think influence. What do you guys think?
I mean, how you gonna ask and then name all the niggas that niggas is gonna say? I will say this though. Yes, to all of those. He also is on the record saying that may he rest in peace, Young Dolph also uh is a huge influence on Gunn as well, which which is something I'm also concerned about in my research. How seemingly like regional influences, like because like obviously he's from Buffalo and like New York
Mm-hmm.
influences, but he clearly sees influences from other regions, like
Yeah.
like Memphis, like Young Dolph, and so he's been on a record saying that Dolph um, is when he was alive was his favorite rapper, and so Young Dolph as well. I think as far as like voice distinctions, vocal distinctions, very clearly it's really analogous in to make the reference to Ghostface, obviously, and not just like the voice but also like the style, like like mention of the high fashion, you know what I'm saying, whether it's mention Balenciaga, like Hermes, and obviously for people that are into fashion, mentioning like Ronnie Feig, who's like the creative director, creator of Kith and stuff like that. So, and there was an interview that he did with Smoke Dizzle where he was saying how, obviously at the '90s, at the end of the '90s, it was like, I mean, Big died in '97, but kind of more into like a poppy era of hip hop, and he was just like, yo, like me and like the rest of Brazil, we were listening to like, the W from Wu Tang, you know what I'm saying? Like I know like Easter Gun Day 4 is a beat that was off of the W from Wu Tang album. I forgot what song it was, but yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think I definitely hear the Ghostface influence, um, some Raekwon influence. There's also an MC, very underrated legendary MC named Megalon, who was on Operation Doomsday, song called Greenbacks. I
Greenbacks.
personally think he outrhymed Doom on that track, and I'll probably be crucified for that. But Megalon is incredible. But he has that timbre in his voice where he sounds young and he sounds hungry. Like there's a certain element, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sweet, like with the grimy dude that's always scheming that frankly might be stick up kid. That's the
Yeah.
vibes that I got from Westside Gunn. You know what I mean? Like in the video, Mr. T, one of my favorite
Yeah.
songs, produced by Apollo Brown, like Kadisha mentioned. Um, there's a point where he's pouring the liquor. He's pouring out this ace of spades. Look at his
Yeah.
eyes when he's doing that. The guy
Yeah.
looked like he's not right. You know what I'm saying? And I know Khadijah has mentioned Buffalo. Like there's certain MCs that just ooze a certain authenticity where like, yeah, he may not be killing people every week, but he's seen some stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I got that from Gunn, and you get that from Megalon if you listen to him. Like I think there's something there. And I think like West was different, and I think he's the illest out of the whole Griselda movement. And I can really expound on that later, but I'm standing on that, and I'll tell you why. As we continue on.
Yeah, no, I wanted to go back to that Easter Gun Day. Yeah, there was a beat that was like I forgot which one it was, but it was the one with the bunny is like stabbed with a carrot, and he's
Yeah.
like, damn, son. What the fuck? Like that? um, that was a wild time. Anyway,
And those are all. I think those are all like diss tracks. You know what I'm saying?
those are all diss
I'm
tracks.
not trying to bring up. I'm not trying to bring up any old history for anybody that might.
No. But if you know, you know.
Yeah.
But that beat, that fucking beat is so fucking hard. I just really have a thing for those kind of piano things too. Like the shit just drives me crazy. Like I fucking love that shit. Love it, love it, love it. So yeah, like during this time also when all of that Easter Gun Day stuff was going on, you know, if you know, you know, it just it was such a like exciting time, like in underground because everybody's like, you know, you heard the new, like it harkened back to a time when, you know, people, it became its own subculture like in the early 90s, in the 80s, where people would look forward to music in that way, like when you ran home to, yo, let me hear this, and you know, people were on message boards and, you know, like really looking and seeing like, yo, like now, you know, I like some Huss Kingpin tracks too. You know what I'm saying?
Hustle's
Um,
dope.
Huss is dope. He has this song called Leather Walls that I really like. Um,
Yeah.
and his man's too smooth. You know,
Smooth
who
is
doesn't
dope.
get enough love for whatever reason. I like him too. But
Yeah,
yeah,
after us, I've done music with us too. Put Prince and
yeah.
Quicksand.
All
One,
time.
two. Yeah, yeah. Us
Oh,
is dope.
word. Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what's up.
What I love about these artists is how distinctive they are. You know what I
Huss
mean?
is dope.
Everybody's got their own sound and their own vibe. And to your point, Khadijah, we were excited because it just felt so varied. Like, what's who gonna say next? What the beat gonna sound like? You know, like they took it to that hunger where we really look forward to it again. You know what I mean? So, could please continue. But yeah,
No, yeah. So that's I just remember that time and me really like familiarizing myself with the music and really taking my time to kind of listen to it and going back recently again and listen to the whole discography. I was just like, this is so dope. And it was really a special time. Because that's the time when I also all of these artists, Westside Gunn, Ka, Rock, like they all came into my life at the same time. Um, you know, during a period of time that was a very like difficult transition period for me. But yeah, I just also want to say that I struggled with Westside Gunn. Like sometimes I'd be like, I don't like what's good with you? Like, are you gonna do something else? And then I would go back and forth. But it wasn't until like last year, like I actually went through the whole discography and I was like, oh, I really appreciate what he's trying to do. And it's different from a Kanye West and stuff like that, even though I could see the, you
The
know, the
influence.
parallels there. Yeah, the influence. But I feel like because his artistry is so tied to that pain in a way that Kanye's artistry is also, you can see the pain there, but it's so plastered over with all kinds of everything else. Um, that I think that's where the departure is for me in terms of influence. But I think that he's doing something different. Like even with his references to like designer and stuff like that. I just came to the conclusion. I was like, you know, it's not so. I feel like it's a very surface reading to be like, oh, it's material or something like this. I feel like what he's doing is talking about that pain and that tragedy that he's gone through, and you know, kind of a juxtaposition between the two worlds, like this high fashion world and this gritty, like painful, like life that, you know, prison, in and out of prison, drugs. If anybody's been to Buffalo, Buffalo's real rough looking out there. So, and like you said, losing friends. Like he constantly talks about his friends that he's lost, the friends that he have gotten locked up for long periods of time. And so, yeah, I just at first I was like, I'm in this kind of like love hate relationship sometimes with like the artist. Like, I don't know, like I'm feeling this at this period, I'm not, but I really, it just came really full circle where I was like, like I just love Westside Gunn's music. Like it's really, it really just like is my kind of music. Like I could listen to the shit all day, regardless. So yeah, and I do also think that he's the best out of the crew. Even though there was a lot of debate, like oh niggas be like he can't rap. Um, a lot of people would say I was hearing that at one point. Oh, he can't rap. Benny's better. And Benny is dope. But Westside Gun, you know what I'm saying? You gotta listen to what the niggas really saying. So I'll leave it there. Pick up.
I mean, Wes is the grounding wire. I mean, I think I might have said this. I forgot when I said this, but I just think that so to rewind it back a little bit. So there's like Griselda. If I'm not mistaken, in August, maybe you can help me understand this historically. It was actually Wes, Conway, and Mock first before Benny, because I think Benny had some legal.
It was Westside, Conway, Mock, and Fahim.
And Fahim, yes, thank you. Yeah, because Wes lived in Atlanta. Yeah. And so if I'm throwing Mock in the equation, and obviously I think from a rapping perspective, but that's because Mock is. But if you're talking about those three, I mean, listen, I think that with Conway and Benny, without Westside, they're just good rappers. There is no real, and maybe June, maybe you can also. There is no real artistic direction without Westside in that sense. And so I definitely believe that. And also, Khadijah, back to your point, not just friends, but also his constant reference to Machine Gun Black. And, kind of how you have to be able to listen to music differently in order to understand. Listen, and listen, being influenced by Wu, fly nigga, all that stuff. But you also have to listen to when, like you said, June, a nigga's not rap too tight, but also when a nigga's crying out for help. And so, I think that the constant reference to Machine Gun Black just shows that no matter how much money, I'm pretty sure if I never met West, but I'm pretty sure if I was to talk to him, he'll probably give up everything to have some of his closest people back. And so that is how I listen to his music. And to your point, Khadijah, I mean, there are a couple projects that I don't like by him, but I think when I think about his influence on a new kind of generation of underground rappers, right? It's undeniable. If I love Mutant Academy out of the Richmond, Virginia area. Hugely influenced by Westside. Like you cannot deny it. Like, the nigga Big Kahuna had a Fly God sweater on in a couple of his videos. And, and June, you talk about Stick Up Kid. That's why I love Concept Jackson. That nigga just looks like the nigga that you just don't want to be caught in a dark alley with. You know what I'm saying? There's the fly nigga, and then there's the nigga that does the dirty work. And somehow Wes is both.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. Yeah. So here's my thing. Like, all right, Guru said it's mostly the voice. We've mentioned this before on this show. So you hear Westside and you hear that distinctive voice, almost childlike, you know what I mean? But then you hear the words and you're like, oh my God. But there's also how he says it. Remember that skit that went viral of the dude that was in the McDonald's line? Like, yo, I need two fries. Like, imitating him. So his ad libs, the way he says things sticks in your head too. With a kilo, like you got this whole thing that you can that you just when somebody rides by and you hear that boom 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 boom, you know what it is. And
Mhm.
that's dope because that's not easy to do. You know what I mean? To really have a sound with your music that people could just, identify you from. That's the first thing. I think the main thing that I like about Wes and why I say he's better than or the best, not better, but let's say the best in Griselda, or at least my favorite, is because, like Robert said, Benny and Conway are incredible, incredible MCs. Benny's gonna give you the details inside the dope spot, all the things that's going on. Conway gonna talk the hardest and have a cool way to say it. Wes is violent and as crazy as the imagery is that he's painting. It's like he doesn't take himself too seriously. You know what I mean? Pull up, I have my foot hanging out
Hanging
the
out.
gate.
Yeah.
You know, he said, blew his head off, gave my shooter a chest bump. Yeah, I picture this giving the shooter a chest bump. You know, like, I just feel like there's a certain comedic relief there. There's a little humor in it. There's a little slickness in it, almost like
Doom.
he's painting a movie or describing scenes from a movie more so than really trying to convince you that he's the super duper tough guy. So there's a certain entertainment in it, and then when he talks about the art and the fashion, it takes it to another degree. To Khadijah's point, it's the grimiest of the grime, but it's in a dude that's like dressed in $1,000 garments. I mean, he made a song called "Brains on a Basquiat." If you had a Basquiat, would you put brains on it? You know what I'm saying? But it's the imagery. It's so extreme, and he says this. He's like, "I'm gonna talk the craziest shit ever." You know what I mean? And so it's artistic. It's a cry of pain to Robert's point, and I think it's very well done. And I think he's like the only person that can do it and be revered for it. Which he recently mentioned he doesn't get the reverence. He doesn't, get spoken of, and that's curious to me too, because all the goats, the Mets, the Nas's, even Jay and all of them, they talk about these guys. Everybody talk about the Griselda movie and how big it was. So I think it's interesting that there is a lack of coverage in the hip hop publications, if you will.
Uh,
I
real,
think,
real,
I
real
think
quick, just because to your point, June, real quick, the humor, going back to August's point, that's the Doom influence. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. I think it was on uh, and Who Made the Sunshine. But there's a track where he's just like, "Come here, bitch." You know what I mean? Like he's just like, he's not even rapping. He's just like talking. Yeah, but go ahead,
Super
August.
comedic. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, Doom
You wanted
reference.
to say something, August?
Yeah, I was gonna say like as far as one thing that Westside Gunn always says is like I do it for the culture, it's for the culture, the culture, the culture. And then after a while you be like, yeah, right. On the real though, like I was thinking like as far as what I think what his contribution to the culture has been, like just strictly in terms of like his feature list, like the plethora of MCs he's had on his track. Like I just made a short list of just like the 5 or 6 albums I reviewed. Like here's the people we got: Conway, Benny, Elzai, Doom, YOD, Makami, Keisha Plum, Crime Apple, Mayhem, Loren, Action Bronson, Danny Brown, Sky Zoo, DJ Qbert, A. Rashid, Stay Knack, The God Fahim, Stove God Cooks, Boldy James, Jay Worthy, Joey Badass, Tyler the Creator, Wale, Freddie Gibbs, Planet Asia, Tri State, Hus Kingpin, Rome Streets, Jadakiss, Sean Price, Fat Joe, and the list of producers. The standout: Sadu Gold, Harry Fraud, Alchemist, Derringer, Ninth Wonder, Rock Marciano, Chemical,
August Fanon.
August Ramon, yeah, Fahim, Static Selector, DJ Muggs, DJ Premier, Denny LaFrere, Animas, Beat Butcher, a bunch of other cats. And so like he has like spread a lot of love and featured a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? And shared his platform. You know what I'm saying? And one other point I was gonna make about we talked about this before we met about or when we were preparing for the show about why hasn't the press really kicked in lately for Westside Gunn, and I think it was because like the narrative was kind of apex when he signed with like Rock Nation and like Eminem, and then
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, you niggas is here now. You ride
Mhm.
around with Westside Gun, I mean with Kanye West and every. Okay, you're like above this scene now. You're part of it, and you construct. You have a large part of constructing it. When it's like they're not like Westside Gun for some reason is not seen as like with Mike and Earl Sweatshirt and Navy Blue. He's like somewhere above, somewhere in space somewhere, and like they don't have like a narrative to like kind of write him back into the space. I feel like kind of like they've kind of, and also they kind of given up on him because he's like he's so big, so it's like he's not really down with it with us no more. That's just what I'm thinking. But also I think they're just taking his ass for granted. It's just so much good music and so much shit. They're just taking. I mean, this new album is crazy. This new album is probably one of the best things. I mean, it's a young year, but it's one of the best things that come out this year. You know what I'm saying? The 12 album. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. I love it. But
Mhm.
yeah, get some thoughts.
Yeah, no. I wanted to talk about like also his uh selection of producers because it's very like vast, like you're saying, like you said, Denny LaFair, Animons, Camo, who did a lot of the early stuff, Derringer.
I don't even think I said Danger. Alchemist. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so obvious. I didn't even say
Derringer.
Danger.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He worked with Madlib on the double joint.
Hmm.
He worked with Homegirl, that did Hell on Earth too. Um,
I forgot to say Sovereign.
Sovereign.
Yeah.
Sovereign, yeah. Um, and so like I just feel like the way that he chooses beats, like it's so tailored to his style. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the shit just works. And like you said, June, the way that he says things, um, like he can just like bullshit on the track and have that like MF Doom kind of humor, and it would just sound like so hard. You know what I'm saying? It would just sound like so tough. Um, I just really love it. I wanted to talk about like the Hitler Wears Hermes 3, which is, I think I had went back to that album. I love that album. Freestyle and Farragamo. That is my motherfucking song.
Mhm.
But I really like Billy Esco's part too. That shit is my song. I really love that song so much. And Camouflage Monk like really did his thing on there. But that whole GXFR era, like it's an interesting era because I was listening to some mixtapes from um from them too, and I was just like, you hear Mock, you just hear like that sort of like authentic thing that I don't think, like when we talk about like the bloggers or whatever, people will kind of Xing him out of the conversation. They seem to not understand that sort of essence that he has, the kind of unique quality that he brings, the way that he chooses beats. Like the beats are gritty, and they're stylish, if you could call it that. Like they're very artistic. Like, the beats are like a kind of Basquiat, if you kind of think about it. Like there's something about it that's just like very high end in that way. But it can speak to many different audiences. And one thing I was also thinking about, like going back to the pain and all these wrestling references, because that was, I don't know, how old is Westside Gun? Like 40?
He's in his 40s, like probably about like 40, 42.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he was, around the time like late 90s, early 2000s, like that whole wrestling thing, that shit was everywhere. Like the 80s, with Hogan and stuff like that. But it was really the Rock. That shit was like everywhere, and the wrestling references, his personality, the way he comes off on the track. Um, I don't think it's appreciated. I really don't think it's appreciated. I don't think what he's trying to do is appreciated. And I will say that out of everybody, like he always, yeah, the nigga put, he had Uncle John on, he spreads love to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like I do have to say, like Conductor Williams, you know what I'm saying? He just like blew that nigga up. You know what I'm saying? Put Stove God. I think my first introduction to Stove God was on the double joint, like on the Hitler joint, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the first time
Prison
I
Eight.
remember hearing him. But like, just putting Estee Nat, who's, another person we hope to cover, and really putting that nigga on the map. But that was a special time, like that GXFR era. Like it was a special time.
I think what we're all getting at here is his ability to curate. I think so it's one thing to like just pick beats, and if you have a decent appreciation for hip hop and you're trying to rap, you could probably pick decent beats if you don't produce stuff yourself. But it's also executive producer, HBO. Um, I think about that song "Plenty" on HBO, where Mark is like, I told Gun enough machine day, you know what I mean? Like, that shit. The Liz joints, both of the Liz's, 1 and 2 are fire. Another producer that he worked with on probably my favorite, HWH, which is 6, or one of them, Taru Gold. Um, also
Mm-hmm.
showing that he has range with that and his ability to curate. I don't think that people understand how difficult that is, not only to do for yourself, but for so many other people. You know, like I said, so June, like you brought up, not just Benny and Conway going from great rappers to having like an actual artistic standing, but also executive producer for Mock, Esty, Stove God, Armani Caesar, Rome Streets. So August, when you were listing up the features and the producers, also who he executive produced for, in order to steer where they need to go in order to have their vision be seen to its logical conclusion. I also think that that's something that has to be greatly appreciated because, he could kind of just really do like a mainstream thing at this point if he wanted to. And the
Yeah.
fact that he's still able to do that is, I think, really important to understand.
Yeah, like he really could if he wanted to just started, doing like pop albums and making appearances and stuff, like which is how people go. It's, somebody said he revived Ransom and RJ Payne. Yeah, RJ Payne, yeah. That's another one
Mm-hmm.
who like I think started off as a battle rapper,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. Like and like you said, like it's difficult to curate for yourself, let alone somebody else. So he definitely has that air and that kind of vision. Like I think we were talking about the other day that, yeah, you had Benny, you had Conway, but he really brought the vision, the Griselda vision to the whole thing. And really like that's how it kind of catapulted. That's how it kind of like really took off. And yeah, I just feel like people don't really take the time to really understand what he's trying to do. And all of like the high fashion, high end grime, and somebody just put it in the chat. Like to really understand like the kind of deep tragedy that's interwoven with everything that he's saying and taking the time to impart to the world. I think it's really it speaks to something that I think that a lot of people miss.
Absolutely. And I mean, even just looking at the imagery, you know what I mean? Like this is him as a kid. There's a picture of him. and it's got the crown. I don't know if you can see it, but the crown thorns, and he's crying blood. It's really brilliant, you know. I think he's smart visually, and the thing I really like about him, and another reason why I think he's my favorite out of Griselda. I had tweeted or I think on IG I said under one of his posts, I was like, you know what West going to speak about, but you never know how he's going to express it to you. He plays around with his flows, and me, just as an MC and a lover of lyricism, that's one of my favorite things. Like, peep his flow on this track. I think this is called Babylon Bis. This might be off Pray for Paris, but
Mm.
check his flow. He says, the streets hot, I got a Glock just to flaunt. Nego zip up with the shark, selling nickels in the park. Green beam on my mark, fiend lean in the dark. Have you
Mm-hmm.
seen, have you saw? I'm a G, I'm a god. Two divas on my arm, two-seater out in Prague. Like, he plays with it. You know what I mean? Like, he plays around with the way the words bounce around. And he not only creates this image, but it's just pleasing to the ear. You know, like that's another point. Like, I think Benny and Conway are really trying to like paint their pictures in a very serious way and get you to understand how serious the nature of it is. I think with West, he plays with it. It's like it's almost like it's not as serious to him because he's seen so much, but he kind of makes it artful by doing it in creative ways.
I
Yeah,
definitely
I
agree.
think that uh also, and I'm looking at the track list on uh HWH8 because that's another one of my favorite joints. You know, Wes also says that he's not afraid to have rappers do better than him, and I think that's important because funny. There's a song called Draymond. There are rappers who like are probably like better shooters on the squad in terms of basketball, but he's the person that is running the play. I, I'm a post up and I'm gonna kick it out because I know that Clay's over there. And to your point, June, on the Perry Perry joint with Rome. I mean, Rome was going off on that joint, and then Westside had a line like, "Bitch smoked her teeth out, still smiling like she fine." And then he said like fine, like he did like a high pitch fine. Yo, the nigga takes nothing serious, and I love that, because I think that's also a part of like I think that's a what he does, being like that bridge between like, and this is also important for the audience to know too. A lot of the rappers that we've spoken about up to this point, just because they got their flowers in the last 10 years, they're not young, and so like that bridge between like, all right, an older era of hip hop bringing it to like a more contemporary sense. He knows how to play with that, so he knows when to let like a younger rapper like a Rome Street shine and still just have like these crazy references, to like Gerald Levert or some shit.
Right, that was funny. That's a Joe Reversal cup playing.
The playfulness is like a kind of like a trauma, like a defense mechanism, or like a
Mhm.
trauma response for like a lot of pain. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
he just deflects a lot to that, and it's good. He like or he sublimates that pain and he gets it out through his lyrics and whatnot. I forget which. There's an album they talk about. You guys got so many good skits, but it was one talking about like throwing paint on a on a canvas is a lot more healthier than like going out and doing something violent. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
Mm,
you know what I'm saying.
mm.
But there's so many. It's funny because the skits are like the skits for me are like hit or miss. But when they're on, they're like, oh, I love that shit. That shit is perfect. You know what I'm saying? But but yeah, I just think it's like a defense mechanism or a trauma response or not completely, not the and fully, but I think part of it is you know he's got this sense of humor over his lifetime of all these crazy experiences that he had, life experiences. You know what I'm saying? Like he's developed a good sense of humor to deal with it. You know.
Yeah, like I remember he had this song. I think it was on Hit List 7. I love you, bitch.
Yeah.
I love you, bitch. And I was just like, what is going on? But it worked, you know, like it completely and totally worked. There's this song on the double album. I also want to give time to talk about this trap thing that he did. But I'll say this that there's a song called I think Oyster Tag. The second the second beat on Oyster Tag. That fucking shit is so I like I think that's like one of my favorite transitions. I love that. He's not rhyming on it, but like I forgot who even produced that. And I think it might have been Alchemist,
Hmm.
but it is right. I
Yeah, I
think it
think
might.
so.
Yeah, I love that beat transition, yo. But like Best Dressed Demons with
Yeah,
Mock
I was just looking at that. Yep.
Split. What is it? Margella Split Toes.
Yeah.
Like
Also,
when him and Mock get together, also I just something really. I was like, the shit is so ill. Like going back to the GXFR stuff, like the shit is so like dope. Like they just bounce off of each other. Like the Hall and Nash also. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the way like when he's locked in with somebody, like with Stove and with Estee Nack now, um, like the nigga be locked in and like he really pays attention to synergy also. Um, yeah, I honestly like I was really happy to talk about this episode because I think like on the surface, like people would make assumptions about like Westside Gun music and things like this. And I think like once you kind of like peel away at the layers, you see something there that is like I think we talked about it yesterday, like a darkness that is tragic, compelling, and redemptive, and you know powerful. I don't want to, beautiful, but not in a way that is, like stereotypical, but in a way that you can feel all of the strife, all of the pain, all of the murders or whatever he's seen, but still kind of like um, divert our energy to like a comedy thing. You know what I mean? At the same time. And I also want to talk about, he also brought in Vast Air. I forgot what song, but
yeah,
Vast
yeah,
Air,
Yeah,
DJ.
Vastair, that joint is tight. I
yeah.
just finished
Yeah,
listening to
with
that.
Vast Air.
That was on the Hitler versus the
True,
Hitler 3.
true.
That was on
It was
And
on,
3.
yeah,
it was on
I think
three.
that was
Yeah,
like the
yeah. It was
second
on three.
to
It was
that
on three.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that shit was really, really dope. Yeah, like his ability to like to get talent is also like really interesting. And I feel like the hip hop blogger era. Well, I don't know if we're such in that era anymore, like when people really used to do it.
Oh,
But
I
like
think I think it's worse.
it's worth.
I think it's worse. Um,
But Pitchfork was really good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like y'all, I don't know,
I
flopping.
mean, to that point, so two things. I mean, my partner, May, she loves off of Pray for Haiti. She loves the Filet Do track. Like that's her. She's like, yo, like,
Claiborne Kick is my shit.
um, yo, Murder Season's also crazy. Going back to the boom, 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 June, like that joint's all over that joint. But I think before we go into the trap stuff, I think what's important to understand, and my brother Joe Nuns, he always enlightens me after these episodes. He says, "Yo, I think the thing that is a problem is like what we're trying to get to something that's really complex that like hip hop journalism, especially in the internet age, hasn't caught up to." And I don't think it's because like niggas is like some high level geniuses. It's just that we spend time with it and we try to peel back layers. And to write an article, you need something that is sensationalized. So you're not going to try to carve back layer by layer by layer what is important about these artists. And is not probably maybe 10 years from now when we're all doing something else, maybe they'll look at these episodes, these archives, and be like, oh, this is why these people were important. But I just think that it's worse now because everything is for clicks. And the people that we listen to, even if they have a little bit more notoriety now than they did, they're not doing shit for clicks. And so you're going to get surface level readings of shit, unfortunately.
I want to give June the last word because I know June you're about to go. But yeah, what do you
Yeah,
think?
I appreciate that, sis. I just think Westside Gunn is a one of one. He built up a movement, from the ground up. He's doing it all on his own accord. It reached all the way to the top with Eminem and did an album with no samples after blowing up, doing sample based production. I don't think there's anything he can't do. And he's one of the reasons why this underground hip hop stuff is so powerful because these are people that are really coming from the trenches and establishing careers and feeding their families off of art and entertaining us. And I think that needs to be saluted. That's why I bought this hat for $50. And
Mm-hmm.
salute to West Side Gun and the whole movement. Yeah, I appreciate y'all, my comrades, my podcast comrades,
All right.
and Rupturing the Aesthetic. Check us out, man.
Yes.
Appreciate y'all.
All right. Peace, bro.
Thank you. Thank you,
All
June.
right, peace.
Yeah, I want to also touch on something that June just said about like okay, my brain is like fuzzy now, but just he ushered in like a wave, like when he came out, like he all these other people started to come out as well. Like it was a whole like that 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018 era, like mad other people just, started coming. Then we had like Panama Plus, we had like Future Wave, we had just like
Ito,
Yeah.
Ito, fucking
all the
Amaretta,
Al Divino.
yeah.
Aldovino. Like he just ushered in like a whole era, like and yeah, you don't hear that talked about much. Like, I think we were also talking about this, like I think you mentioned this, Robert, about like people. I know like Kendrick is getting a lot of attention like now, and his album. I like his album. You know what I'm saying? I like the album. I think it's dope. I like the album. I think it's dope. But and maybe August, you could speak to this too. But like so much attention on this person and like really ignoring the the kind of kernel, the kind of like um kind of seminal kind of underground, above ground, because I don't really know what lane he's in right now. You can kind of like in a limbo kind of state. Kind of letting it kind of like fall to the peripheries, in terms of artistry and paying so much attention to like a Kendrick Lamar or like some of these other people. I don't even know. But yeah, what do you guys have to say to that?
I mean, I think for Kendrick, the thing about Kendrick we gotta remember is that he had this beef with this Drake character, and I don't know. It depends on like I do underground hip hop and I'm in it and I love it, but I still have an eye to the whole hip hop world. And I hate Drake, and I've hated Drake for a long time. And I'm saying it on here, you know what I'm saying. And I don't talk negative about people, but I'm gonna say about Drake. So like
Yeah,
for
you're the
Kendrick
nicest
to
person
come
I ever
out,
met.
for Kendrick to come out and challenge him and destroy him is like great for hip hop. And I think that's we're in the wake of Kendrick getting love and attention based on what he did to Drake and the symbolism of what it meant for hip hop. I think is big and it echoes big. But I mean, but as far as like where Westside Gunn fits in and like getting attention in that, I mean, like I said, I already gave my little spill about it. I just think he's entered a space where he's like the guy, the writers that I know about that are writing about hip hop in this space. It seems like they kind of perceive him to be a little bit over the space. Um, and also at the same time, I think they're just plain like overlooking him. Like it's been taken for granted because, like like it's been taken for granted what he's done and what he's doing. And people just have short attention spans. And he has been one guy that promotes him. He's the guy that promotes himself with big kind of hoopla things, and like after a while, it kind of gets kind of like, yeah, we see. Oh, you're doing it again. Okay, yeah, this guy. Okay, and like instead of he's kind of played it like that, like make a big WrestleMania event for when he drops, and then this one he it didn't really have that kind of a rollout, and I don't know, I don't know. It just seems like the writers are being lazy. They're looking for some kind of like gimmick to like couch their pen in to write about him, and there's he's not giving him anything but just dope ass music. You know what I'm saying? More dope ass music. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that so there's a number of things that come to mind when you ask that question, Khadijah. I mean, so for one, the reason why like I love a theorist like Fred Moten is because he writes about music in the way that I think that everybody should think about music. He ties it to social life, particularly Black social life. Um, and in this book, probably my favorite by his so far, like Black and Blur. He writes. There's a chapter where he writes about how even though he talks a lot about jazz, he's a hip hop baby, and it's one thing to kind of think about these things in a kind of like straightforward hermeneutic. All right, the beat is this, or like a dissect podcast. Something that I can't really stand. Here are all the double entendres, and here's how. But when you do that, you overlook the actual aesthetic quality that can actually that's actually worth analyzing. So that's one thought. But to what you were saying, August, I mean, look, like I love Kendrick. I think that Tip of a Butterfly is one of the most important albums in the last 20 years, and I'll defend that. And to defend him, I don't think that he himself is trying to garner this attention to have people overlook these other artists. I mean,
Right.
like in the equivalent way on GNX. And I know some friends that kind of didn't like that album, but I do appreciate how he put on a lot of local
Yeah, he
West
did.
Coast artists.
Mhm.
And he didn't have to do that, and so I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
Yeah,
he's
he
like,
did do that.
yeah, I just think that it's a kind of problem of the time where, going back to what I said, things being for clicks. Um, the way that it works rationally in my mind, Kendrick still has like a huge budget, right? To kind of like see out his vision. And he does a good thing with his budget, right? Like he's able to put on these performances that still hint at a Black radicalism. It's still corporate, but he hints at it at least. But I don't think that he can do what like a West Side, a Ka, a Rock can do with relatively little resources in comparison to him, if that makes sense. So I don't think that, and that's not because I don't think he has the capacity. It goes back to like when I was talking about Nas. I think it's because he's at a point where, even though Kendrick does experiment, he doesn't have to like, he doesn't have to do like drumless, even though I hate that term, but he doesn't have to do drumless hip hop. Um, and so as a result, you kind of get like, all right, They Not Like Us is a huge pop hit, which I love, but it's not the most important thing that happened in hip hop last year. It was the biggest thing, like you said, keeping your eye on the hip hop world, but it wasn't the most important thing. To me, The most important album was Marciology. The most important event was Ka dying. You know, Not Like Us falls in importance levels down, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of where I am on the spectrum. Like, yeah, last year, like I went to, I saw Rock. We saw Rock perform. That was a whole fucking event. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, but I also appreciate, what Kendrick is trying to do. I think I spoke to you about this. Like, I think also August, you and I were talking about this when we talked about the Super Bowl performance and it being hard to get into because of the setting, and then like giving me a kind of like Macklemore-ish or Macklemore-esque kind of like, yeah, we know what we know what you're doing, but it's just like, like it's kind of like a corporatized Black Power. And I think John Berger also talks about this, who is
Mm-hmm.
a theorist, Marxist-Leninist, who wrote it's a famous documentary, Ways of Seeing, from
Mm-hmm.
England. He also talks about the way that the state is able to, and I think this is like also like a Gramscian thing, the way the state is able to kind of sublate your rage, like to feed it back to you or to sell it back to you in the form of a t-shirt or in the form of a cup, in the form of a, like a fist with an afro and, something, whatever. But it's really not speaking to anything. And I think Kendrick, for me, is in a limbo space because he does have really powerful moments. Like there's a song, not on this album, but like on the last album, where he had like the RZA influenced domestic violence song.
Yeah.
But there's a song where he talks about like family, like rape and, like really like heavy stuff.
Yeah. Mother I Said.
And yeah, it actually made me cry, like that song actually. I actually really teared up about it. But yeah, he has these beautiful moments, and then he has those moments where he's like captured by the state but doesn't realize it, to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think your assessment is spot on, Khadijah. Also, John Berger wrote two great books. One called Landscapes, one called Portraits. They were about art, they were about art history, but it's through his kind of Marxist Leninist. Yeah, but those two great books by John Berger, I would recommend for everybody on here. If you haven't read any of his stuff, but somebody that you and I think all three of us learned from, Joy James. She'll say like, "Are so back to us a simulacra," to quote Dr. Joy James. You know what I mean? And listen, so to be fair,
I know where you're going with this.
so to be fair, listen, if I talk about the ways in which I was radicalized, I didn't come into the world being a Marxist. There was like, say for instance, so I'm a vegan. A huge part of the reason I'm a vegan is because I listen to Wu-Tang, and niggas are like, I don't eat pork, and then RZA ended up being a vegetarian, and I was just trying to copy my favorite artist. So you never know where somebody's radicalism can begin. And so if that begins with Kendrick, I actually have no problem with that. I have a problem if it stays there, because like you said, even if he's trying to use the Super Bowl platform, and I don't know if you guys spoke about this, even if he's trying to use the Super Bowl platform to kind of undermine the Super Bowl, afterwards, I'm pretty sure you heard about the man who had the Sudan and Palestinian flags sewn together. A real moment of radicalism for Kendrick, if would have been if he would have came out and said, "I support this man." For
that
protest.
was such a huge thing.
That
really broke my
been
heart.
like, okay, you really undermined.
Yeah, I was waiting for him. I was waiting for him to say, like, when I saw the recap, I saw the flag. I said, oh, I think he's about to say something. and then like it never came. And so he has these moments where he's there and then he pulls all the way back. And to be fair, it's not like, and we can't expect these people to, like, to be our revolutionaries, because they never said that they were. But the thing with Kendrick is, like, he like, yeah, I'm here, I'm saying this, but it's like you're saying it, but at the same time you're distancing yourself from it. So it's like, which one is it? Like, are you with the shits or are you not? Like, stop playing with people, stop playing with politics. Like, it's either you're being overtly political or you're not. It's not a it becomes like a corporate dance to me. And so when I talk about when I'm thinking about Westside Gunn, because a lot of people, he does like the high fashion and materialism and things like this. But for me, I feel like he's doing multiple things at once. Um, I'm not expecting him to say anything revolutionary or anything, although he does have his moments. Um, I will say that he
I mean,
also gives you a critique. Yeah, go ahead. I was just gonna say he also gives you a critique of capital without like saying it overtly. Because when we talk about Buffalo, when you talk about people dying, when you talk about like, I come from the most degraded town um, in New York State, and I'm putting on this Karl Lagerfeld, thing, and whatever the case is. It's almost like he's saying like, I come from the most degraded town, and I'm kind of also using this kind of Paul Lagerfeld, Murcielaga kind of, clothing and pieces to also kind of push against, the system that created this degradation in the first place. So yeah.
I was gonna say, like, in the albums that I listened to, like, I didn't really pick up on a lot of high fashion stuff. I'm sure it was there, but like what I did pick up on was like this constant narrative of prison life, reentry, uh, and also if you follow at least from the Fly God up into 12, he's been talking about his man Sly Green, who's been treated like a terrorist, some drug dealer from Buffalo who's been, and what is that about? I mean, we talk about the prison industrial complex, and we talk. I mean, Sly Green. I'm not saying
Mhm.
he's political. I mean, he is a political prisoner. All prisoners are
Or political prisoners.
political prisoners. But I mean, there's
Yeah,
more
because they
avenues.
gave the nigga like life. They wanted him they wanted to give him the death penalty or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, they wanted to give him a death penalty. And Westside Gunn's been keeping up this narrative of this story. He's been continuing to present this story, and he continues to talk about stories of like drug dealers, and he just talked about people like of desperation who get opportunities to have lots of money, and like what's to come of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's always giving these instances, talking about like the brother in Oakland who worked with the godmother and other people like of these stature. I'm drawing a blank with all my drug dealer lore, but yeah, he keeps of this stuff going on, and it's good. You know what I'm saying? Like it's real shit. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking about that too because I hadn't been tapped into Westside Gun a lot lately until we started prepping for the show. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about he kept up with this stuff, man. This is good, man, and like his rhymes, like I'm really picking apart his rhymes. Like, yo, this is some ill. That's when I talk about like him being like on a Nas level or getting to that because like the pictures he's painting and like of jail time, of prison, and of like poverty growing up. You know what I'm saying? And then the contrasted. I did contrast it. I like with the wrestling skits. Like there was this one on Supreme Blind Tell. Another thing I wanted to say too was Supreme Blind Tell is my favorite West Side Gun album. I think that's his best album. But
It's up there.
you know what I'm saying? I like that one the best. That shit, that's my shit right there. And he has a skit where the guy, I forget which wrestler, but he's like, "Yo, 500 diamonds is not enough for my belt, the center of my belt. Is it 500 diamonds? I need way more diamonds."
Yeah.
Than and it's just, I mean, Khadijah was like, "Put that." Well, I thought we were listening to West Side Gun. I'm like, this is the skit from the album. We are listening to West Side Gun. You know what I'm saying? Because she thought because like it so much. He went off on a tangent, but yeah, that's all I had to say about that. Real quick. Are we gonna talk about the trap stuff now or what?
Wait, real
Go
quick.
ahead, go ahead,
Um,
go ahead.
um, you brought up Supreme Clientele. I was looking up Elizabeth, and that's the song where like I heard about Sly Green, and you know, and there was a line on there was like, I'm trying to look for it now, but basically something like, niggas gave him 50. My man's talking about niggas gave him 50, and then Westside's like, yo, just be patient. Nigga, be patient for 50 years. But
Right.
but the point is like it's this, as Moulton would say, it's a theorization that he's doing in praxis, in the praxis of hip hop.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
it's a theoretical formulation that he's doing in praxis.
Yes, it's a theoretical, yeah, it's an analysis, and it's a framework that he's expressing through praxis. So I'm really happy for that. I just wanted to let everyone know. I think we also talked about this. We're gonna have like a short segment after we discuss Westside Gunn to talk about like organizing in Brooklyn, like a short 5 minutes. So the comrade is going to join us for the last 5 minutes to talk about that. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly talk about the trap stuff. So the trap, some of it I just didn't like it. Like, okay, some of it I did. But the last song on the album, I fucking loved it. But that was a dope album. The tracks that weren't trap, I really liked. But the last one, the name is missing me. I'm sorry if someone can get it for me.
On
I
which
really
album?
thought that shit was the trap and the half trap half let me like
And Then You Pray for Me, that
that.
one.
Then you pray for me. Yeah, the last song on the album, like he let the young nigga shine on that album, and then the guy, he says like, I can't believe I'm on a Westside Gun album, like this is crazy, like he says it in the rap. Like I was like, it's moments like this that are really special, you know what I mean? Like you said, always putting people on, always curating other projects while being like intimately and paying attention to how you're curating yours. That's a very hard skill. And I do think, like, back to your point about like the simulacra, um I think, which is a reference to Bouillard and like the hyperreal and stuff.
Hmm.
I would say that yeah, like he's trying to break the hyperreal and trying to make us see the real. Um, yeah, so I'll leave it there if anybody else has anything to say.
Yeah, you're talking about on because I mean there's some trap stuff that I like, not on Then You Pray for Me. That's actually probably my least favorite project of his, if I'm being honest. But on 10, that Fly Guy Junior joint with Doughboy, I definitely was whipping the wrist. But Revenge of Flip's Leg on And Then You Pray for Me, I think that's probably the one. That one with Rome Streets, and then the last track, And Then You Pray for Me. That's also a great song. Also, I love something that we didn't bring up, just real quick. I love the Peace Fly God album that came out like 3 years ago. That
No,
that is
I didn't review. I gotta check that. I didn't review that one. I didn't check that one.
Yeah, that one also has SD and Stove God on it.
Yeah,
And it's I think it's one of those sleeper joints, just like
The Sunshine album too was a sleeper.
the Sunshine album was a sleeper, just like kind of like going back to you, August, and your stuff with Mock. I mean, I love Bulletproof Love. That kind of falls below the radar for a lot of people. Same thing with this Peace Fly God joint. I think it just falls below the radar, and I think it's just fire.
And August produced that song on Hitler 7 Gondak.
Mm-hmm.
That beat, like, that shit is tough. You know what
It's
I'm
fire.
saying? That shit
Mm-hmm.
is really tough. Like, I was listening to it the other day. I'm not gonna lie, like the shit was hard. And I was listening to that it was the one that he did with the Connie Chung with that old lady on the cover that
Sing.
was like some lady on Buffalo. WWCD.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was the Griselda, the Conway Benny, and
Yeah.
what? Yeah, that what was Machine Gun do?
What sings undo? Yeah.
Well, yeah, what would yeah, whatever the name of it is. Um, that was a sleep like it was I remember when it came out, like it didn't get talked about either.
Yeah,
Like people wasn't really checking for it
and
like
50,
at all.
50's on that album. A person who I can't stand, but
Who? 50?
yeah.
Oh
See,
shit.
I do remember when it came out, people were shitting on Eminem's fucking verse, and we were listening to it the other day. I was like, what the fuck is this nigga saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, that
if we ever have like a hating episode, August, you can cover Drake and I'll cover Eminem. It would
okay.
be like if we can tag in.
We could toe tag or we could team up on it. Because I was like, what is this? And like even homegirl like Armani Caesar, like I like her too, but it's also just like,
I ain't
what are
gonna.
we getting?
I like that
But
second Liz album.
flow.
I like that second Liz album. I mean, if I was like June, I got two sweaters from that drop. But yeah, Camouflage Monk's production all over that joint is fire. I personally like the Liz too.
Okay, I gotta go give it some more listen. And I just real quick before we pivot to something else, like the Keisha Plum. So like I love like I'm a stab a nigga and I'm aware like Pradas and I'm aware like red bottoms while I'm killing you and like and stuff like that. And when I first heard it, I was like, what is this? Again, I was just like, what is this? But it works. It
Yeah.
works. It works. It works beautifully. And I'm always looking forward to Akeisha Plum. Like as someone who also writes poetry, I don't write like that kind of poetry, but
Maybe you should.
maybe I should give it a go. But no, I do really like she just adds a special quality to all the albums. You know what I mean? I think she's dope.
Yeah, definitely.
She was on HBO too, right?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, she was on
Mhm.
HBO too. I really like her, and I think that she's really dope. Maybe one day we'll get an album from her. I don't know, but like, I think what she does with Westside Gun, it works really well. So, any closing remarks before we head out?
Yeah, before the other comrade comes on to piggyback with the Keisha Plum joint, I think that's also like another Doom influence in the sense that I remember Doom on the Red Bull interview, they had asked about like Pebbles, who was on
Pebbles.
Tuesday, and also they had so in my top 5 favorite albums of all time, Mad Villainy, and the top 3 track on that album, he was talking about like why did he just let Stacey Epps just go off, and he was like, if you listen to like old like radio, it would just be a time where it would just be like, yo, you just needed like that smooth female voice to come in and kind of like diffuse all this like
Mm,
and I
I
think
didn't even touch that. Wow. Okay.
so. I think that is. I mean, I'm not saying that is the case, but I think that's how I'm reading it.
No, but like even with Ghostface, yeah, like I can see like Wu would do it like sometimes, always to mellow things out, to balance things out. Um, I really like that and I appreciate that. Is there anything else, August, that we want to like capture before
No, I
we?
think we covered a lot. I think I'm good. Check me out on my Patreon, August on Patreon or August on Bandcamp. Got a new record out with Sleep Sinatra. We just dropped on a CD, Hero's Journey. So check us out there at the Bandcamp. But that's all I got to say.
And Robert, like where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm mostly on I'm on Instagram, Scarlett Mugen, SCARLETTEMUGEN. And I also, I mean, I won't give out all my information there, but if you hit me up on there and you want to like learn about like some of my scholarship or like any activism that's happening in upstate Albany, I live in Albany, or if you want to know about anything else, like you can just hit me up directly.
Yeah, and I'm Khadija, and I just want to say, like, Westside Gunn is somebody you should definitely like really delve into the album, really delve into the work, see the kind of like the darkness, but also like the kind of analysis that is there in a way that is packaged and delivered to you in a way that is I think goes against like how we're expected to think about music and to think about artistry. And I really appreciate and his beat selection is like no other. The producers he works with, and I really like have fallen in love with his music over the years. So definitely, if you haven't tapped in with Westside Gun, like what the fuck you sleep, wake up. I'm gonna bring in my comrade Brittany from the Mega Everest Coalition to talk real quick about some of the work that we're doing in Brooklyn. What is the Mega Everest Coalition? And just kind of, help people to see like what's going on in terms of organizing in the Brooklyn area. So take it away, Brittany.
Peace, peace, everyone. Firstly, thank you for having me on. And admittedly, so I'm not familiar with Westside Gun, so per your recommendation, I will check it out because I've been asleep. I'm sorry. I've been asleep. I'm sorry. I'm a singer, so I keep up with a lot of R&B and jazz. That's just naturally my thing.
Oh,
But in the spirit of bringing up Doom, I've been talking to my comrade about having a Doom themed party, but also
oh,
trying to incorporate, how his message could somehow tie into the movement. So I'm still thinking through that, but I definitely think it's gonna be fire. I definitely think he's another one that's slept on, and I just recently got put on him, so I'm digging through the underground streets, the underground crates. But I'm here once again. I'm Brittany, representing the People's Senate, and the Medgar Evers College Coalition is a collective of other formations or coalitions or organizations, however they identify, of the People's Senate, MPDM, BED, please, Brooklyn Eviction Defense, um, PSL, and Black Men Build. And we've been doing really great work every Saturday at Medgar Evers College, bringing community and students together to have more intimate dialogues about the shit that's going on in the world and how we can be directly a part of completely putting an end to it. The People's Senate was the first formation to put on a workshop, and we did the very best we could to bring attention to Jordan Neely, a brother who his life was snuffed out publicly on the F train by this cowardly white-bodied vigilante named Daniel Penny, and on a train full of people.
mm,
Sadly enough, it hurts me to say that two more people on the train helped to unalive that man because he was homeless and hungry, and they didn't know how to help him, although he was asking for what was needed as far as food and shelter. And because he was having a mental health crisis in public as a Black man, they, Daniel Penny, a former Army vet or whatever the hell he was a part of the state. That's really what it boils down to. He was a part of the state and decided to take this Black man's life into his own hands and The People Senate, along with other comrades from other formations, went to court support for him posthumously. And the jury, for whatever reason, still found that man not guilty after all of the evidence that was
Hmm.
there. And, it was hard to watch. His family had to watch the footage over and over again. But sadly, the results are what we always expect them to be. So, the Medgar Evers coalition couldn't have come up, or they couldn't have come alive at a better time. And honestly, we've been having a pretty decent crowd from at least 30 to 40 to 50 people. And we haven't had, it hasn't, no, the first one was kind of packed. I'm not going to lie. It was kind of
It was
packed. It was
huge.
pretty good.
It was
We
definitely fun. Yeah.
Yeah, we did some great work on sharing flyers and really doing outreach, and that's another goal we have, or it's another objective as far as doing personal outreach, more up close and personal outreach instead of just posting flyers on Instagram. It's so easy to do that, and it's taking away from the connection to the people. And I think that is a very important connection we've been very purposeful about, as far as getting back in touch with community, and letting the people know that everything doesn't have to be digital. And the students, I just spoke to a student last night, and thankfully, thanks to one of the comrades, Akimba, being a faculty member at the school, he is the reason we have access. And one of the students is very grateful to be able to learn and earn credits and just enjoy what we're bringing to the table and the discussions we're having. And I think the more the people know that we exist and that we're doing this, and the more that they know that they have a say so in, letting us know what they want to workshop on, is it's very important to know that we're working hand in hand. When we're not here to just be the teachers in front of the room or anything like that. We want to hear from the people. We want their participation fully and completely. So this Saturday we are having another workshop, and I believe the name is African Women Must Lead. And impede them, our sister, or our sister formation is putting this on, and I can't wait to see what they bring to the table. They have a very strong team, and I'm just very excited about the work that we're doing. And I want to pack the house again, because the first one had the school thinking, one second they were going to kick us out of the school because too many people were coming, but then they stopped playing in our faces and decided that they might give us the auditorium. So that just goes to show people power is a real thing, and we can really make things happen when we come together like a fist and stop letting the man, walk through us like a fucking open hand. Apologies for my mouth. But thank you for having me on. Thank you, Khadija, for asking. And thank you for
Yeah.
allowing to use this platform to, show love to the coalition. Come out this Saturday at, oh, you say the time, Khadija, because I forgot. I
2 p.m.
completely forgot. 2 p.m. Okay, there you go.
2 to 4, Forever Coalition. Shout out to Akimba, and yeah, we want
I
to
have a
see the
question.
people.
And happy birthday, Akimba, again.
I have a
Birthday,
question.
Akimba.
I have a question real quick. Where can people find more information about this past, like this event on Saturday? Like, where can people find more, just more information in general?
So the
You
Medgar
want
Evers Coalition has an Instagram. You can find us there at the Medgar Evers College Coalition, or just MEC. It's good. MEC, you will find us. You can't miss us. And that's there. All the flyers are being posted there well in advance, so everyone can get the information. And the responses are pretty prompt, so nobody will leave you on scene.
Nobody will
Check
leave you
us out.
unseen. And I also just real quick before you go, the last event that we had, the last workshop went really really well with a brother named Dr. Myron Clay Gilmore, who wrote a really I don't know what to call it, a really like powerful essay.
What was his name, Khadijah?
Dr. Myron Clay Gilmore.
I was on a panel with him. I know him.
Yes. I remember because he told me he was doing that thing. He was there virtually. So yeah, he did a really powerful essay called Start Stabbing Before the Soup Cools Down." And this is a kind of looking at the through lines between Fanonian dialectics and Huey P. Newton's in theory of intercommunalism. So I think that it was, I mean, we don't have it hybrid right now, unfortunately, but this is such an incredible paper. He really focuses on like counterinsurgency in the state and like Fanonian dialectics. And you rarely hear like Huey's theory of intercommunalism even like really talked about. Like people don't even mention it. So like I just wanted to talk about that and to say that please keep up with us and please keep up with Rupturing the Aesthetic crew here and peace out.
All right, see you later.
Peace, y'all. Much love.
Peace.
Peace.